Good morning, everybody. So, today I am going to chat a little bit about my new book that I've released, The Power of Intent. And specifically, I want to talk about one of the chapters in my book, which is called Time. Well, it's a chapter about time. So, in my book, I explain a bit more how the dimension of time works and how to utilize that with implementing it with the intent that you create to manifest the things that you want to manifest. And I thought today I want to expand on that a little bit to just to share my notion of time and how I feel about it. So, firstly, let me dive into I call time a dimension. I firmly believe that time is not a linear thing, time is not a straight line. Time is a dimension, and if I can explain it a bit more, maybe you'll understand. So, let's start with the basic concept of time. Most people think time has a start and an end, and it goes in a straight line, and the decisions you make depends on how that line moves, but it's fixed. But if we had to take time and we give it, let's say, all of time, eternity, let's start off with your life. Let's give your life a line, right? From this finger to this finger is your lifespan. Now, if we had to take that lifespan and zoom out a bit and look at, let's say, the century, your lifespan on that line of the century becomes smaller. If you go even further out and you look at this millennia, it gets even smaller. And if you zoom even further out to all of existence and eternity, your lifespan becomes a single dot on that line, which now represents all of infinity. And because infinity is ever growing, ever growing, ever growing, even infinity eventually becomes a little dot on that line of time, which means that your entire lifetime is all happening at the same time. You are born, you go to school, you get married, you get old, you die, all one single point on the timeline of infinity. But that's a bit weird. How do you grasp all of that on a line? So many years ago, there was a show called Quantum Leap, giving away my age here a bit. Quantum Leap believed the structure of time works a bit differently. They believed that the show was about a time machine, and this guy could get in the time machine and he can go back in time. And then, weirdly enough, possess people's bodies to try and change time for the better by pretending to be them. But their concept of time was that he could only travel back in time within his bloodline. So there was like a connection. So it wasn't a straight linear, just his past, his history, his line, but whoever was connected to him by blood, he could travel to those people. So now your line becomes segmented towards the back, besides the future. And if you look at it even further, there was a description of time where they said time is like, and I actually think in Quantum Leap they described like that. Time is like he takes his bloodline as a line, a string, and then he rolls it up into a tiny little ball. And then he says, with the quantum mechanics that they utilize for their time machine, he could jump to any spot where the line rolled up in a ball touched. So now you're taking that line and you're bringing it into a ball, into a bit more of a dimensional aspect. Now take it one step further. In the current reality, everybody always talks about we're in the third dimension because of height, width, and length. But we are all mass moving through space and time. So the space part is the height, the length, and the width. But what about the time part? So isn't that another element to perceive our reality? Is the movement of matter through not just distances, but through time. So as a youngster, I started thinking about these kind of things. I thought, okay, how, what, where, when? If time is not a line, if time's a little ball, if time's a dimension, what does this mean for us? And Einstein's theory of time was so amazing when he said time is relative, general relativity. So he used to say something to the lines of, you can put your hand on a hot stove top and a second feels like an hour. Or you can spend the night with a hot woman and a night feels like a moment. So time is very relative. Your perception of time is relative. how you experience it is different to the person sitting right next to you. And this is evident when we look at, for instance, people who meditate together. One person can meditate, go into a deep state of alpha wave, brainwave functionality, come out an hour later and go, whoa, it felt like I just started meditating. And the other person might not get that deep and have all these things going through their mind, and they're constantly trying to sort it out and quiet their mind, whatever. And an hour feels like forever. It's like, can we just get this meditation to stop? But they're all sitting in the exact same time. Now, you can take it even further. If you look at something, for instance, as simple as a fly's perspective of time, why do we all struggle swatting flies? It's not that flies are super fast. It is flies' perception of what they see around them, the way their brain interprets the signals they receive through their eyes, is actually a slowed version of time. They perceive time in slow motion. So while I'm swatting really, really fast to get a fly swatted, that fly seeing my hand coming down in slow motion, and he just goes, oh, well, I'll go this way. So if time's a straight line, how can a fly perceive it different to a human? Why does it feel for a fly like it is seconds when it's a millisecond on our side? If time's a straight line, that's not possible. So just the mere fact that people perceive time differently, the pure fact that animals versus other animals, I mean, we are animals as well, perceive it differently. Time cannot be a straight line. It can only be a dimensional force because it's perceived differently depending on a bunch of things. I mean, we're not even going into the whole fact that when you get closer to a black hole, the closer you get to the event horizon of the black hole, the slower time actually flows. We're not even getting into something more simple, that astronauts who go up into space, like the International Space Station, they age differently to us because of where they are in comparison to the Earth floating around the sun and all that kind of stuff. So time, like Einstein said, is relative to how you perceive it. They even did a test many years ago where they took two atomic clocks. Now, an atomic clock is something that is designed in such a way that a second is a second down to the micro-milli structure of how that clock works. There's no way for it to run slow, for it to run fast. If you put two of them together next to each other on a table for 10 years, they will run exactly the same for 10 years. An experiment that they did in America is they had one on a table at the bottom in the on the ground floor of the Empire State Building in America, and the other one they put on the top floor. And they let the two run for like a week. And when they put them back together to each other, their times were different. So you don't even have to go to space. You don't even have to be a human to perceive time differently. Even mechanically, it flows differently just by adding height to it. Now, this makes things very confusing because how do you then get a handle on time? When I was in high school, one of my subjects was a science subject. We could do experiments on anything, and I tried to prove time traveling is possible. And with Einstein's laws and spin theory and all kinds of things that I put together, my thesis basically said that you can go backwards in time if you were in a machine that was designed that could spin around you without affecting you inside the machine. And that machine could spin as fast as the speed of light, because the faster it spins, the slower time's perception around you becomes. And theoretically, you could change the curve of the time to go backwards. So if clocks differ, if machines could be built, then besides the fact time traveling is possible, time can't be a straight line if we travel to it. Because if you're from this moment looking forward and you look at all the options you have, time becomes branches. So why would the past only be a straight line? Why doesn't the past also come from branches? Because the moment you move along a branch, it doesn't automatically just filter everything in a nice straight line behind you. Now, there are many theories nowadays about time travel. There are many theories nowadays about what time is and what it isn't. And even with science doing all these experiments on quantum mechanics and quantum physics, photons that are being experimented on, we have all noticed on Earth, in various countries, various ages, that all of a sudden this year specifically, it feels like things are happening so quickly. Wow, it's the end of the month already. How can that be possible? And I know when I was younger, the older people used to say, time feels like it's going faster and faster and faster. And I always thought, okay, cool. As you get older, you sleep later, or your perception of it differs. Or as a youngster, you used to do so much at work. You get to work, you do this, you sit in traffic, it's all these things. So when your memory recalls it, it feels like a day was super long because of all the things you've done. But as an older person, retired or whatever, you wake up, you have a cup of coffee, you sit around, you read a book, you watch a movie, you go to bed. So time feels shorter. But this year it was quite interesting how not just old people, but youngsters, school kids even, are all going, wow, this term is all of a sudden over. Last year it felt like the term was longer, and they check the calendars and they realize, no, it's been the same amount of days. And my theory is because of all the experiments that they're doing in the quantum realm currently are affecting our actual perception of time. It's actually affecting how time is flowing currently. Because if you mess with time, something has to change. And science has now even gone as far as testing quantum photons to see if there is something as reverse time. And they have now come with articles and stuff where they say that not only have they recorded a photon moving in backwards time, they also theorize that there might be a dimensions next to us that is flowing in reverse time, a parallel Earth dimension going backwards, essentially. So what are all these experiments doing? What is all these quantum mechanics that we don't even understand having effects on? I mean, if you know about the butterfly effect, you flap a wing here and there's a tornado in Toronto. So we are experimenting on a mass scale with, all these big machinery to freeze light and to see if we can teleport things with quantum mechanics and how time works, and building faster than light speed engines. And that's going to have effect on how we perceive time. So what am I rambling about? Has all of this got to do with your intent? Well, it's very simple. We have been programmed as humans to understand that time is a linear thing. We've been programmed that you start at one point and things take time to manifest. You have to do things, you have to move matter through space and time, and then eventually your manifestation will occur. Okay. Then we work hard and we give it our all and we try and manifest, and we don't get what we're trying to manifest. And we go, why? What's happening? The universe is against me. People are against me. Or, what did I do wrong? Or, I know it's going to take longer because it's quite a big thing I'm trying to manifest. So it's going to take longer to get there. But this is all false advertising. This is all false programming that we have been taught since we were yay high. Because even scientists are now recently proving that light photons don't actually perceive time. That for a photon to move from the sun to the earth, there's no time difference, it's instant. So if something that we perceive as humans takes 8 minutes to travel from the sun to our planet, that same thing a fly perceives as 8 weeks in his mind with seeing everything in slow motion, a photon perceives as instant. It means that if we change the way we look at things, if we take that programming and we break it down and go, okay, let's put that program one side, let's load a new program into our subconscious, that time can be instant, that the past and the present and the future, like I mentioned before, is all happening right now. I'm only perceiving it in a certain way. I'm only perceiving it with my senses, how I'm programmed and trained to perceive it through ways I've been taught my entire life. But if time can be instant, it means manifestation can be instant. Doesn't matter how large or how small a thing you are manifesting. Now, there's a lot of things I cover in my book, The Power of Intent, that are tools to utilize together in order for you to create the right intent and to utilize intent in a way where manifestation can happen instantly. And you can go ahead and get my book and read all about the other stuff. But when it comes to time, what I'm trying to get to is that you don't have to work hard for long periods of time in order to manifest the thing you want to manifest. If you use all the tools in parallel with each other and combined with each other, you can manifest things instantly. It is as simple as changing your mind. It is as simple as using your intent, choosing what it is you want, being specific about it, and then going, boom, so it is. It doesn't have to take weeks. It doesn't have to take months. We hear stories about people who become millionaires overnight. Well, if they can do it, why can't I? Oh, but they were lucky. Okay, fair enough. There was a woman many years ago, I think it was like in the 1950s, 1960s, somewhere around there, American woman, who they labeled as the luckiest woman in the world because every single competition she entered, she won. Now, how is that possible? How can you enter every competition that you hear of? It became like her job. She heard about a competition, she went, she entered it, and she won it. And I'm not talking about endurance or skill based competitions. I'm talking about luck, like raffles and lucky draws and bingo and whatever the case may be. How can that lady confidently win every single one? You can't be that lucky. It's theoretically impossible. It's because when she entered those competitions, there was a different programming, a different mindset that she had. She didn't think about the competition as going to take time. She didn't think about how many people were entering. She didn't. What she said was, "I want to win that competition." And with her formula for intent and manifestation, she made that happen instantly. There's a story here in South Africa about an underage boy who started playing the lotto. Um, Back in the days when there were only like one lotto once a week on a Saturday or whatever. And because he couldn't play, asked his dad to play the numbers, who didn't play it. Long story short, this boy had the correct numbers, all 6 lottery numbers correct for like 4 weeks in a row. And each time there was a reason why. The first time his dad didn't play because he thought, what's the chances, he's too young. The second time he, I don't know, lost the ticket. The third time the ticket went through the wash. But 4 weeks in a row, that boy had the exact number. Is he psychic? Maybe. Was he super lucky? Possibly. Or because he won it the first time, did he have the right intent and realize that this time, I am going to win it? Not next time, not tomorrow, this time. Now, there's also a theory where they say that by changing the way you look at things and changing your programming, you can actually affect the past. You can change the past. Not just changing the future, you can actually change the past. And this is foreign and a weird concept for some people because how can I change the past? It's already happened. I don't have a time machine. I can't go back and then make a different decision or tell my younger self to choose this instead of that. But let's think about it on a logical level quickly. What is the past for each person? It's simply the memories you have. It is the memories of what you went through. And scientists have done studies and they've realized that if you actually look at how people remember things, specifically memories of ourselves, of things we've gone through, you actually don't remember the memory itself each time. You remember the last time you remembered the memory, right? And because of that, there are details that fall away over time. Your emotions in the times that you remember it start playing a role. Sometimes they call it emotional triggers. You remember something because of the way you feel, not because of the story that you remember. And in some cases, these memories do get warped. You might have an argument with your spouse going, "Oh, you didn't do that," or "You did do that." And she goes, "No, well, I didn't," or the opposite. Who's remembering it correctly? Who's remembering it incorrectly? Can both be wrong? Of course. Because as you get older and as the memory gets older and deeper compacted in your brain, it can get warped. It can change. I had a very bad rugby accident. I had a big chunk of my memory went missing years. And people always ask me, did your memory ever come back? And it's a very difficult one to answer because the fact is, there are things that I remember, but I remember them because people told me the memory. So I don't remember sitting in the movie watching Top Gun, for instance, with my best friends. But my best friends told me, you watched that movie with us. So now I remember the memory of them telling me I did it. And I've seen the movie because I recognize it when I watch it. So that memory must be true. But I don't remember the memory itself. So memories can get warped. They can change over time. Now, who are we today? You are a combination of your memories, combination of your experiences, the lessons you've learned, the things you've remembered, that created you to be the person who you are today. So, Mario, you said, okay, cool, changing the way we look at things, changing the programming can change the past. What does these two have to do with each other? Well, it's very simple. If over time or accidentally your memories can change, then you can change them on purpose as well. You can actually go, you know what? I remember my first job interview and I was super nervous. Because of those nerves, every single job interview that follows, you are nervous because the first one you were nervous. What if you go back and you go, I don't want to remember that nervousness anymore? What else was in that memory? What other information do I have? Well, I remember that there was a beautiful picture on the wall. What was the picture of? Oh, that picture actually calmed me. It took the nerves away eventually. So from this point forward, remember that first interview as a calming situation, right? Which means the next interview you go to, it doesn't matter how many you've been to since the first one and now, the next one you're going to go to, what's going to be your new programming? That the interview is calming. You've literally changed your past. You've literally affected the past, which affects you to do something different. Now, yes, you can say, Mario, I didn't change the past for real. I just changed the way I think about it. But that's exactly it. You changed the programming. And remember, your brain does not know the difference between a made-up memory and a real memory. It doesn't know the difference between something that you visualize and imagine and something that you see in real life and something you see on TV. How many of us have had this situation where we're talking a conversation over a braai or something, and we go, oh yeah, I remember this kind of happened, but I don't know where I got the information from. You don't know if you saw it on TV, if you read it in a book, if somebody told you, but you remember the information. Now the brain perceives what it sees, whether it is on TV, visualization in your mind, or a memory, it perceives it all as real. Because in here, it's the same energy. It is real to you, regardless of how others perceive it. So if you change that memory, then whether it happened that way or not, whether the physical past, if somebody goes back in a time machine and sits there and watches you, has changed or not, is not relevant. For you, it's changed. Your perception, how you perceive time relatively to others. And that's a key thing when it comes to manifestation, because if you can change the past, you can affect the future. And if you can realize that time is now, all you have is now, you can manifest anything instantly. Right? There's an old saying where they say the past is but a memory, the future is but a dream, all we have is now. And that's why they call it the present. So live in the now, focus on the now. There's a lot of tools you can utilize to manifest what you need to manifest. But if you start getting your mind around time is not a thing that is linear. Time is not a thing that takes forever. Time is now. We can manifest now. We can change a habit now. We can change the way we look at things now. We can win an argument now. We can diffuse an argument now. We can wallow in our sorrow, or we can stand up out of our darkness now. Because you know what? Even if your mindset is that time takes time, that there's a forward motion and that's a linear thing and that it's a process, at some point, you're going to reach that now. So whether you now do it from I start here and by tomorrow I will get my gym clothes out. Next week I'll start doing exercises. At some point, if you are honest with yourself and if you are like serious about starting gymming, you will reach that point. And then one day is one day where now I'm in the gym. So we are the ones who slow things down. We are the ones that make it take long because our programming is taught us it has to take long. I can't do this and instantly there's 1,000 Rand in my bank account. I firstly want to say why not? And then fair enough, there's more to it. There's more to manifestation than just understanding time. But once you understand time and once you understand how to affect your past, how to manifest something of the future in the now, how to see it as a dimension, as a ball, as a thing where you can move in between rather than just a line that keeps the one point away from the other point, that's when you will start realizing how easy things can be manifested. Fair enough, some things are more difficult than others to manifest. But a thought is entirely in your control. And how you think about something is entirely in your control. And you've got the power to make that thought now. Do you like it? Do you dislike it? If you dislike it, what am I going to do about it to change it? What can I do? What am I willing to do to change it? Or do I just want to play the victim mentality and go, oh, life is terrible and time, everything takes forever, and, you know? So take control back of your life. Have a look at time. What does time mean for you? What resonates with what I've said to help you change the way you look at things, to help you change the way you understand where you are in time right now and what is necessary in order to manifest. So that's just my little rant on time that I mentioned, how I feel about it. Like I said, there's a lot more in my book, The Power of Intent, that gets combined with this notion that helps you look at things differently, that takes your brain out of the programming and shows you how you can actually manifest everything you want in your life. A lot of self-help books don't talk about the secrets I talk about in The Power of Intent and how powerful intent really is to get to where you want to go. So if you want to know more, catch me on my next live or get hold of my book. And I promise you, you can create the life you want to instantly by simply changing the way you look at things. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I don't know if there's any questions from the people who are watching, but if there are no questions, that's me for today. Feel free to find me on Facebook and ask me a question. Feel free to find me on WhatsApp, and let's continue the conversation. Thanks for being here today, guys.